Think about how you want to behave. Before you spend time with this relative, take a few moments and decide how you want to behave. Perhaps you and this relative have gotten into arguments in the past. Ask yourself what started these arguments, and if there are ways to avoid getting into an argument this time. Wait before you speak, especially if you have strong negative feelings towards someone. Don't react quickly or speak without thinking. Take a breath before you speak. If you're having a hard time holding back negative comments, gently excuse yourself. List support. If you have a hard time getting along with a relative, let someone in your family know that you'd like to minimise interactions with this person. That way, if you get cornered into a discussion or argument you want to leave, you can signal for a rescue. Enjoy yourself. You don't have to dread going to family functions because of a family member. Put your focus on spending time with the family you do enjoy and doing activities you find fun. Even if the family member you hate is in the room, focus on other things. If you find yourself in a conversation with this relative, find a distraction to help you get through the interaction, like playing with a dog. Keep the relative occupied. One way to deal with a difficult relative is to give this person a job or task at family gatherings. If a meal is being made, ask the relative to chop onions or set the table, and let him or her do it the way he or she wants. That way the relative will feel like he or she is making a contribution and will be out of the way for a little bit. Use humour. Especially if the situation is tense or uncomfortable, you can use humour to disarm difficult behaviour and bring some lightness to the situation. Make a casual comment that shows you aren't taking yourself or the situation too seriously. Have an exit plan. If you fear interactions with this relative, come prepared to the event with an exit plan of why you need to leave. You may have a friend call you with an emergency, or say the house alarm system is going off, or that your pet is ill. Whatever you find plausible, arm yourself with a potential excuse if you're feeling uncomfortable or angry with your relative. Reoccurring heated debates. If your uncle loves to bring up politics but you'd rather not discuss it, don't engage the conversation. Make an effort not to bring up politics when in this family setting. Even if your uncle brings it up and tries to egg you on, it's up to you how you respond. This goes for competing sports teams, universities, or cousin rivalries. Pick your battles. Your cousin may say something really offensive that you immediately want to fire back on or correct. But take a breath. Decide whether it's worth engaging or not. Solve conflicts. If you can't stand your relative due to a conflict, see if you can resolve the conflict between you or the relative. You may need to find time to sit down and be honest with each other and clear the air. When approaching your relative, be kind, compassionate, and non-defensive. Say no. If you have a relative that seems to want things from you, money, free labour, a place to stay, don't be afraid to say no. Remember, you have a right to say no. If you want to consider things before you immediately say yes, you also have the right to wait and think things over before you agree. Avoid passive-aggressive manipulation. Perhaps your difficulties arise because of a certain passive-aggressive remarks from your relative comparing you to other grandchildren or nieces and nephews. You may even feel manipulated by your relative by passive-aggressive remarks or actions. If your relative is passive-aggressive towards you, keep your distance as much as possible and don't interact more than you have to. Remember, it's not about you and it's not about personal. Uphold your family rules. If you struggle to enforce family boundaries with relatives, firmly let them know that family rules apply at all times. If you don't like how a relative treats your child, like bossing the child around or feeding foods that are unhealthy, let this relative know that this behaviour goes against family rules, and family rules are enforced in and outside the home. Handle delicate situations. If a relative has done something unforgivable, enforce whatever boundaries allow you to feel safe. If that means not inviting this relative to family functions, or fully avoiding him or her, or letting the family know that the relationship is severed, is up to you, but put the focus on feeling safe and not by punishing the family member. Take care of yourself. If you know you'll be spending the day with a relative you dislike, make sure you come into the situation as prepared as possible. If this person brings out an aggressive or testy side of you, make sure you get a good night's sleep the night before. If you're feeling tired and grumpy at the family Christmas party, leave early, and make sure you've eaten too. If your blood sugar is stable, you're less likely to become angry or aggressive. Remember, it's not about you. If someone belittles you, talks down to you, or says mean things to you, it's important to remember that this is more a reflection of the person than it is of you. Stand firm and remember who you are. Do your best to tune out the words and remind yourself, this is not about me, this is my aunt's projection. Realise you can't change this person. There's likely nothing you can do to change a person from whom you don't get along. You may have a fantasy of a happy family celebrating every holiday together, and when this relative comes, it crushes that fantasy. It's up to you to drop this fantasy and accept that this is the family you have, and the fantasy is nothing more than a happy and nice thought, but it's not based in reality. Accept your relative. Instead of approaching this relative in judgment and disgust, practice being accepting and empathetic. Listen when your relative talks and try to understand this person's point of view. Find reasons to be grateful. While you may dread family gatherings, specifically because you hate having to spend time with difficult relatives, undoubtedly you can find something you can look forward to or feel grateful for in meeting your family. Maybe you're excited to see your niece's nephews, or happy you get to cook, or not cook. Our last point is to see a therapist. If you have a hard time moving past the hurt and the pain a relative has caused, you may benefit from therapy. A therapist can help you work out through feelings and coping mechanisms, see things from a different perspective, and help you work through underlying feelings of depression, anxiety, or other diagnoses. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe for more videos like this one we post every day.